Hey guys, welcome and welcome back to the channel. Hope you guys are doing well. If it's your first time seeing me, my name is Nadisha. So glad that you are here with me today. So listen, I have this message for you guys. I have this word, okay? And I don't know what we're titling it yet, but I'm gonna say get your jars ready, okay? Get your jars ready. And so, quick story, my own personal story. So there's this one time, right? So some of you guys may know this, but I'm a hairstylist, and so when I was brand new, like fresh out of hair school, I had started this job, right? And it was the type of job where, every time you go into work, you have to pack out your stuff, and when you leave, you got to pack up your stuff, right? So there was one day I went into work and my stuff was still in my bag. And when I mean stuff, I'm talking about like my brushes and my hair dryers and my clips and everything was in the bag, right? And so I put the bag down and I looked at the schedule and I realized that I didn't have anyone on my books. I'm brand new, so that's the thing. When you're brand new, there may be a time where you're just not as busy, okay? And when you're not as busy, that's when you're cleaning the place, and that's when you are packing out merchandise and you're just doing other stuff, right? To keep yourself busy. So I remember saying to the Lord, I was saying to God, I was like, man, I wish I was busier, I wish I had hair to do. I wish I had, clients to work on, to service, right? And God spoke a word to me and he said, well, why don't you take your stuff out of the bag? Let me tell you something. God is very simple. That man is simple. He is simple. It's us humans. We are the ones who have complicated things. We are the ones who made God so complicated. God is like, no, I'm a simple man. He's simple. He says simple things. He's very clear and straightforward. And we are the ones who have messed it up over the years, right? God said, take your stuff out of the bag, okay? Because ideally what God was saying is, somebody posted this in the comments of one of my videos and I love it. Stay ready so you don't have to get ready, okay? Stay ready so you don't have to get ready. And what God was trying to teach me is I needed to stay ready. So anyways, I was like, what's the point? My book is empty, there's no clients coming in. And God repeated, he said, take your stuff out of the bag. So I packed up my stuff, put my blow dryer where it needed to be, packed up my brush and everything. And I'm telling you, I witnessed a miracle that day. Okay, I witnessed a miracle because the phones kept ringing and they were like, oh, I know it's last minute, but do you have anyone available to do this? Do you have anyone available for a color? Do you have anyone available for a haircut? Do you have anyone available? It was like, and it was almost like instant. Okay, I packed up my stuff and then the phone calls kept going. All right. And it got to be so much that I was just slightly overwhelmed, okay? So sometimes, most times actually, it's because it's faith, right? We walk by faith and not by sight. We need to do something and then God will act. Even Moses understood that assignment. God told Moses to stretch out his hands, and then God was the one that pushed the seas back, okay? And he parted the Red Sea. So I want to talk about like 3 different characters in the Bible, right? There's so many, but I'm just going to talk about 3. So remember when Jesus turned water into wine, right? John 2 verse 4. I love how he said, dear woman, why do you involve me? That's when they realized that they had ran out of wine, and Jesus's mother was like, oh, Jesus, guess what? We ran out of wine. And he's like, why are you involving me? And it's like, Jesus, don't talk to your mother like that. And, basically, so that Jesus was saying, hey, my time hasn't come. He says, my time has not yet come, because this was his first miracle. And he was probably like not ready and not prepared for it, right? And then that's when the servants, they took some jars and they filled it up with water, and then that's when Jesus turned water into wine, right? But you need to understand, so what did they do? Before Jesus acted, the servants had to fill the jars with water, okay? Sometimes God will tell you to go get a jar. Okay, he'll tell you to go open a savings account. He'll tell you to go start that. Okay, it requires you to act, and then he will act. All right, so they filled the jars, and then he was able to turn water into wine. Okay, another scripture. Where is it? Luke 5 verse 4. It says, when he had finished speaking, he said to Simon, put out into deep water and let down the nets for a catch. Okay, Simon answered, Master, we've worked hard all night and haven't caught anything, but because you say so, I will let down the nets. Okay, when they had done so, they caught such a large number of fish that their nets began to break. Okay, so they signaled their partners in the other boat to come and help them, and they came and filled both boats so full that they began to sink. Oh my gosh, can you believe that the blessing can be so much, so overflowing that it can actually cause your detriment? I was like, God, make sure you know what I mean? We want to live here. But yeah, they almost was gonna sink because the blessing was too much. See, sometimes God's blessing can be so much you're gonna need to call for help. You be like, listen, do you have an extra? Do you know, come bring your boat over here. Bring the bag over here, cause like it's too much. My boat is already filled, so I need to fill your stuff. I'm telling you, when God is ready to move, you see, they call their partners. See, anybody close to you get blessed. Anybody close to you will get blessed as well. And yeah, it was so overwhelming and so much that their stuff almost began to, the boat almost began to sink. That is crazy. All right. And then the story of Elijah and that lady, right? The Elijah and the widow. I want to talk about that. So basically, this widow reached out to Elisha and said, hey, listen, my husband died. We don't have anything left. And then Elisha was like, so what do you have? So this is in 2 Kings 4, right? And Elijah's like, what do you have at your house? And she's like, oh my gosh, all I have is a little bit of oil. So Elijah is like, you know what? Go ask your neighbors for some jars, and then close the door behind you, and then pour the little bit of oil that she has, pour them in the jars. And he says, as they start filling up, set each jar aside and then keep pouring. And then so what it says that when all the jars were full, she said to her son, bring me another one. And then he replied, there is not a jar left. Then the oil stopped flowing. Okay? The oil stopped flowing once there was no more jars. All right, guys. This is the message. Get your jar. Get your jar. Get your jar, okay? See, a lot of times we walk by faith and not by sight, right? God is not going to give you oil in this case, in this lady's case. He's not going to give you oil if you don't have a jar. Because if God blessed her with the oil, then it would have spilled and it would have gone to waste had she not have a jar. And I love this part where it says they gathered jars from their neighbor's house and everybody else's house. And then once they ran out of jar, the oil stopped flowing. That is powerful, and I don't want you guys to miss that. See, the moment you don't have a container, you're not going to have any more blessings. Okay, what you need to do is walk by faith, and sometimes God will just tell you to go get the jar. Go open the account. You don't see the money, you don't know where the money's coming from, but go open the account. In my case, go pack out your stuff. Put your stuff in the places, and I will send the clients. Okay. In Peter's case, God said, put out your net. Peter was like, listen, man. No, Simon Peter. So Simon was like, listen, man, we've been out here all night. We haven't seen not one fish. Okay. And that's when Jesus was like, well, put out your nets. See, Why would God bother to send a fish if you don't have the net? Where the fish gonna go? The fish is just gonna swim along. Just imagine watching your blessing just swimming along, like, just because you didn't have a net to catch the fish, okay? See, the job is not about the fish. It's not about the oil, because that's God's job, okay? This widow could not have provided her own oil, okay? That was God's job. What her job was to get the thing to put the blessing in. Your job is to get the container to put the blessing in. And oftentimes we are worried about blessing. We're worried about where the blessing is coming from. We're worried about how it's going to come, when it's going to come, by what means. And God is saying, that's not your job. Your one job is to get the container. Your one job is to get the net. Get the jar, open the account, pack out the stuff, go start that. Those are our job. Moses' job was to stretch out his hands. Moses could have never parted the Red Sea because that was God's job. His job was to just stretch out his hands. Okay, when we move, he moves. When we move, he moves. And that is what builds our faith. That is an act of faith. You know, you ever gone to the grocery store and you decided you're going to get one thing? Say you're going to get ketchup, and you get so distracted and you get so many other things except the one thing that you went to the store for, okay? And oftentimes we can be like that, right? Where God tells us one thing, he tells us to do one thing, and we get so distracted and we do so many other things except the one thing. And then we get so upset with God when things don't work our way. And God's like, you haven't done what I told you to do. Bro, listen, with Peter, as soon as he put out the net, the fish came. And ideally what God is saying is, I'm not going to bless you if you don't have anything to put the blessing in. Because if you don't have a container to put the blessing in, it is going to go to waste. Some of you guys just might need a savings account. You're asking God, you know, I want to build my savings. God's like, open an account. And you're like, I don't have any money. That's not your job. Your job is to open the account. Okay, Lord, please help me to lose weight. And God says, okay, go find a trainer. And you're like, but you know, go get a trainer. You know, whatever the case is. So, you know, I'm encouraging you guys because it's just an act of faith, really. It's an act of faith. And when you move, he moves. And when you move, it doesn't take him long to move. I've witnessed that in my own life in many, many different situations. And we've seen it with Peter. We've seen it when God turned water into wine. We've seen it with the widow, you know, and we've seen it with other characters in the Bible, okay? When we move, God moves, and it doesn't take him long, okay? So what I'm saying is, don't try to delay your blessing because you are refusing to do the things that God has asked you to do, okay? Continue to connect your dots, and I'm telling you, it's your obedience that releases God's favor. It's your obedience. It's your obedience that releases his hands, okay? That makes him do a miracle in your life, that releases your blessings. Your obedience is the key to your blessings. I feel like I've done a video on that. Yeah, it is. It unlocks. It's like your key. It's like your blessings. Think about it. Your blessings are like in a safe. And God, and your obedience is the key to the safe. Okay? And a lot of times you're wanting the blessing and you're wanting, but you don't want to be obedient. And it just doesn't work that way. Okay? So I'm encouraging you guys, be obedient, but get your jars, get your containers, because God is not going to bless you with whatever it is that you're looking to be blessed with without something to put it in. All right, guys, thank you so much for liking and subscribing. See you soon.